sorry. In Somalia, there are over 3 million people who have been displaced due to conflict or drought. And a lot of people that we're meeting here at this camp specifically used to be pastoralist. That means that they tend to their land and their livestock. Because of the drought, for many of these pastoralists, the lives that they have known for generations is slowly vanishing in front of their eyes.
dadku xooluhu ku nool yihiin xooluhu waa dhamaadeen sababtoo tahay 3 sano waxa nuur lama helinin ana iyo wuxuu cambi jiray hilib soo maaha labadiba male xooluhu way dhamaadeen abaar hadaa aragtid xanuun waa salaam calaykum.
But to understand why this is happening, we have to look all the way back. Because Somalia's vulnerability is built on decades of instability that the world has seemingly forgotten about. Look at where Somalia sits on a map, right at the tip of the Horn of Africa where the Red Sea meets the Indian Ocean. And for centuries, that location made it a center of trade. In the modern era, it made it a battleground. In 1999, Somalia's central government collapsed. Not weakened, not restructured, it collapsed. The government that collapsed had manipulated historic clan loyalties and played sides of each other to stay in power. When they were outs from power, there was no shared trust or historic ties to keep the country united under one power. Somaliland declared independence in the north, Puntland, where I just was, established semi-autonomous governance, and the south descended into chaos. So today, there is no nationwide infrastructure and no foundation to absorb a shock when one comes. And then the climate crisis arrived on top of it. The Horn of Africa is what climate scientists call a hotspot. The Indian Ocean is warming, and that is disrupting the monsoon patterns that bring rain to this region. Since 2020, Somalia has already faced 5 consecutive failed rainy seasons. 5. In a row. The rains that these communities have relied on for centuries simply are not coming anymore, or when they do come, they arrive as flash floods that destroy rather than nourish the ground. The Somali communities have collectively given this drought a name, Abarti Oman, and in Somali oral tradition, they only give droughts a name when it's going to be collectively remembered. In 2025 alone, an estimated 1.4 million livestock died across Somalia, and another 2.5 million are at risk. You can see behind me is a borehole, and this used to provide water for all the communities in this area, but because of the drought, it has been completely dried out. And at the bottom of the borehole is crackling dried dirt. And the community members here are telling me it's been like that for the past 2 years.
waa wax iska tabar yar oo bastooda oo iska caata oo iyagu u baahan anagu waxaanu qalana waa ka weynay waxaanu gadana waa ka weynay baahi darteed baa halkaas aan noo keentay wixii dhacaan Ilaahay baa loogu xamdiyaa.
Halima has been at the Salama IDP camp for 4 months when I visited. In all that time, no organization had brought food or water to her shelter. She had told me, "We're at risk of death." What stood out to me is that she said it in a way as if it was a fact, something that she's had to process and accept for a very long time. But climate alone does not share the full story of what people are experiencing in Somalia. Because people are not only trying to survive the impacts of the drought, they're also trying to survive living in an active conflict area. And when resources become scarce because of the drought, whether that be food, grazing land, or water, communities that are trying to leave with their livestock find themselves unable to because all the routes that they typically go on are now controlled by armed groups. So the traditional migration patterns that most of these communities have gone on are now no longer available. The drought is forcing people to leave, but conflict is forcing people to stay. And that is the combination that most of these communities are finding themselves in.
When you have a situation where there is a shortage of resources, conflict will always happen, either in terms of the land, in terms of pasture, in terms of water points. And people have to make difficult decisions. Do we serve the water for people to drink, What about the animals? So you find that more and more conflict will begin to arise in most of the locations that we work because of the shortage of these resources.
So when it comes to drought, a lot of these families, they can't feed their livestock, which is a big part of where they receive their milk and nutrition. And these livestock end up dying because of the severe drought, and they're not able to feed them themselves. So these pastoralist communities come here, and these mothers, they're hungry, and they themselves are severely malnourished, which means that they're not able to provide milk from their own bodies to their babies.
This work is some work we use for the measuring the level of nutrition status of the child. This is the normal, this is severe, this is moderate, and this is a severe. As you can see, it is the end of the severe. It's very severe, yeah.
Right now, more than half of Somalia's population is undernourished, and that's one of the highest rates in the world. 1.85 million children face acute malnutrition by mid-2026. And just when help is needed the most, humanitarian aid has been slashed by 2/3. And that means there are tens and thousands of people who desperately need food are now without those viable resources keeping them alive. I met a mother who has 10 children. She said that 3 of them right now who are living are all severely malnourished and are receiving care at this clinic. She also mentioned to me that 5 of her other children have all passed away at childbirth because she herself was very malnourished.
When the mothers do not have enough food or enough health services, they may experience or develop malnutrition. And if the mother is malnourished, we already know she will give birth to a malnourished child. This is increases the risk of the death of mother and the death of the child.
waxaan dareemayaa macnaha inay xaaladdu hadda ay adag tahay ka bacdina de Ilaahay baa og waxay tahay xabsa xaaladeeda ma sha Allah way fiican tahay alxamdulillah rabbil caalamiin marka hore say tahay ma ahan hadda way ka fiican tahay sidoo hore ay tahay
markuu joogay 5 bilood waxa ka dhaw uu xanuunsaday koomu galay wuu tabcaamay lug iyo gacan waa dhacday roosha waa ka sirsaray marka nafaqadiisu inay dhacday waan dareemay.
She carried him to a clinic in Gildago, then to the nutrition ward at Baraka, where he was eventually stabilized. This child at Jexton Health Center developed bacterial meningitis, an infection of the protective membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord. Malnourished children face a significantly higher risk of severe infections because their immune systems are already failing. For example, the Somali government recorded more than 3,300 diphtheria cases. Nearly 12,000 measles cases were also documented. These are the diseases that arrive when health systems stop functioning. Despite all the challenges that I've listed due to climate and drought, World Vision is still here. They're still running nutritional centers, and they're still doing food distributions. But what's important to understand is that in the next couple of months, that funding for all of these life-saving programs is dwindling. Somalia's Humanitarian Response Plan for 2026 requires $852 million. But donors have so far provided only 13% of that. Somalia has been excluded from foreign aid budgets this year, and as a result, NGOs have had to cut their funding by 60%. The number of people that have been receiving monthly food support used to be 1.85 million, and now it's dwindled all the way down to 800,000 people. But I also saw reason to hope. World Vision and one of their main partners, WFP, are joined together in a resilience program in Jexting IDP settlement.
Preparing these people for the future. So we've seen some of our communities getting into crop farming, into resilience, into livestock rearing, like chickens and those kind of things. So there is hope at the end of this tunnel in terms of what we're doing to try to cover the gap.
Families who lost their pastoral livelihoods are being given seeds, tools, and training to now grow their own food in the middle of these camps. And one thing that really stood out to me is that a lot of these programs are female-headed. Because in communities where men have lost their livestock and the income, women are often the ones holding everything together. For families who arrived here with absolutely nothing, a garden is not just food, but it's also the first step to many of these families being self-sufficient. Somalia's crisis is what happens when history, climate, and conflict all stack together with nowhere to absorb the shock. And these people that I met are not just victims of their circumstances. These are people who are surviving against the most impossible odds stacked against them. Somalia named this drought because they believed it will be remembered. That's 1.85 million children. That's not just a statistic. That is the faces of every child you've seen throughout this video. And now the question is, will the rest of the world remember them? Or will it be too late?